I don't really like this, but I think this band are going to be absolutely huge, and they were kind of going. And then the single wasn't that massive a hit, really. It didn't. That first single didn't become a massive hit, and they were going, "See, you were wrong. They're not going to be that huge."
No, I mean the first major shock for me was when I was sat in a backpackers hostel in Sydney. I was just having my breakfast, eating some cornflakes or something, and someone had a face, a face magazine. And I looked across, and there was Liam's face on the front of the face. And I was like, what's going on here? And the guy said, oh, check this band out, Oasis. I said, what do you mean check? And he said, oh, fastest selling debut album since the Sex Pistols, or ever. It was like a big deal. They're going to be the next Sex Pistols. And I was like, no way.
The band's next singles were received with equal rapture. Shaker Maker charted at number 11, and Live Forever, Noel's song for his mum, went straight into the top 10. By the time the group released their debut album, the music press and their fans were putty in their hands. Definitely Maybe lived up to the hype. After registering 100,000 sales in the first 4 days, it flew into the album charts at number 1. Making it the fastest-selling debut album in the history of British charts at that time.
When I first heard Oasis, the first album, it was one of those where you never heard it on the radio, or you never heard anybody, it was just somebody would say, oh, I've got this band, Oasis, have you heard that Supersonic, have you heard this song? And it was a word-of-mouth thing, and it was different people had it in the cars, and then slowly but surely, everybody had that album.
What grabbed me about it was really loud, but it did really grow on me. Because the songs are like really catchy songs. They're really good, strong songs.
But Noel started writing, Rock and Roll Star and, Live Forever and, just all these Supersonic and Shaker Maker and all these amazing songs.
The sound, it's very sharp, take it or leave it. It's not a polished sound at all. It's, warts and all type vibe.
I know that on a lot of the tracks Noel would play the drums. Well, not on all of them, but I know that, But Noel would do that with the bass and the guitars and all that. He's a bit of a control freak, Noel. I think with McCarroll, they just felt he wasn't good enough, Once they became established, they could actually say, well, you can get better drummers in. So they got Alan White in.
Alan White was the brother of Paul Weller's drummer, Steve, and although a Charlton Athletic supporter, was welcomed into the group. They had to get straight to work on their second album, What's the Story? Morning Glory.
I think everyone loved it, didn't they? The kids loved it, but their parents loved it, and the grandparents loved it, and anywhere you'd ever read, any big stars, any interviews you'd ever read, or they were always saying that was the favourite album of the year, so it seems to transgress all barriers, really. Everyone seemed to like it.
And it was a design classic, and everything about it is going to be there forever, that album, isn't it? Everybody had that album, and everybody had to have it, and everybody still got it, and everybody still knows all the words to every song. I remember my friend had it, and he played it in his car, and he had a CD player, and turning up, Wonderwall, so it made the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Wonderwall was penned by Noel, and he cited his girlfriend and soon-to-be wife Meg Matthews as his inspiration.
All the songs up until then had been quite hard rockers, and then suddenly to drop the ballad, it just people just and also to have that again, the sing-along chorus, the big chorus. And the kind of ecliptical lyrics and, who's he singing about? Oh, he must be singing about Meg. Oh, isn't it lovely?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the reference points here, like Jane Birkin, who was in female star in the film Blow Up, a 1960 school film, was in the film Wonderwall. And George Harrison did the soundtrack for Wonderwall. So I sort of knew what the reference points to this whole Wonderwall was, but I was like, even if you've seen the film, you're like, what is a Wonderwall? And I think a lot of people didn't seem to really care. They kind of went, oh yeah man, that's right, because like, my woman, she's my Wonderwall as well.
I don't know what people expect from me, and in fact I couldn't be less interested, to be honest with you. It's like I do it for me.
first and foremost. I think once you start writing music for your audience, it's a bit... Why would you want to do that? I don't understand that, but if people like it and that's what they expected, then great. But I don't sit home and wonder what all the people out there are going to think of my next record or the one after that. I don't give a shit about that, you know.
But in Wonderwall, I don't know if anyone watched, there was I think it was a programme about songwriting, and he said, well, I had these chords, which was E minor and G, D and A, possibly in tune, might have. But I had this really good idea that if I just kept my fingers there, that's the bit that makes it sound like a 12-string. Except he nicked that off me. But, you know, life goes on. He just owes me a pint, I reckon.
With a nod to his love for easy listening, Noel allowed the Mike Flowers Pops to cover Wonderwall. The group was at the forefront of the easy listening revival and ensured that the song went in the Christmas charts at number 2. Everyone has different opinions about Oasis, but one fact they all agree on is that the group are at their very best when playing live.
Oasis has just been one of them bands, and it's like every week it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
On the 27th of April 1996, Oasis went back to their roots and played Main Road, home to their beloved Manchester City Football Club. 40,000 fans gathered to see them and were not disappointed.
When they played Main Road in Manchester and they did a big football stadium gig, it was like everybody went to it, you know, it's just every career people as well as Dollies were at that gig, you know what I mean? They were just tapped a nerve.
City boys themselves, like, you know, born and bred. It'd have been not long before, I bet Noel and Liam were probably both at a match saying, you know, one day. And then that day it actually happened and they proper rocked them.
Yeah, one day we'll fill this ourselves.
And they did. And that must have been, for them, that must have been quality, that. It was a bit surreal, to be honest, to hear so many people, you know, singing along to these, you know, these wonderfully crafted songs that had only actually been released for what? Probably about 9 months or something. Liam could just go home. It wouldn't really matter because the audience would just sing all the songs anyway. It was good to see him. It was good to see him up there, looking a little bit nervous but having a good time.
But then to go from that to Nebworth, and he's just, you know, to have the whole, yeah, I mean, 250,000 tickets sold within a day or something. I mean, it was just, you know, it was just incredible. It was just crazy.
Nebworth was huge. There were over 2.5 million applicants for tickets. 1 in 24 of the British population wanted to go and see the band play live.
The whole of British youth culture was represented in those 2 days. It was punks, it was girls with no hair, girls with hair, you know, goths, and, you know, acid houses and druggies and non-drug. I mean, the whole zoom. It was dead, drawn everyone in.
Supported by various groups championed by the boys, including Cast, Ocean Colour Scene and The Prodigy, the group took to the stage. John Squire, formerly of the Stone Roses,